So technological innovation, organizational and operational adaptation, the future of military intelligence, an interim assessment of the revolution in intelligence affairs. So the questions I will try to answer in my presentation is, what kind of intelligence system model does the revolution intelligence affair concept advocate? How effective is this model in practice? In order to provide an interim assessment, I will first provide a theoretical portrait of the revolution intelligence affairs concept, and then an historical analysis of the evolution of Israel's intelligence system and their operational performance during the 2014 war in Gaza against Hamas. The sources, given that, of course, there's no documentation, is mostly the professional Israeli military intelligence literature. There's a quite rich body of literature on these topics, especially after the founding of the Center for Intelligence Studies, and the report of the Israeli State Controller on the operation of 2014, Protective Edge. The report provides incredible insights and quotes verbatim documents by the intelligence services. So why is the RIA important in the first place? Because this idea that there is a revolution in intelligence affairs has been gaining ground in the last years, and it might trigger, as happened with the RMA a few years ago, forms of diffusion by theorizing. In fact, as I will argue in a while, it has already influenced professional and academic discussions on intelligence. So the RIA theory has been more forcefully articulated in the last couple of years. There were remarks by the chief technology officer of the Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the former boss of the Pentagon Center for Artificial Intelligence, and the final report, for example, of the National Security Commission on Artificial Intelligence. However, this concept is not really new. It started to emerge in the mid-90s in the US, and it was formalized for the first time in 2005 in a study by the RAND Corporation, authored by, at the time, I guess it was the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, Strategy and Policy. The concept, as the name reveals, is really modeled around the revolutionary military affairs concept, but also draws on business experiences, especially the experiences of the transition of business in the 80s from hierarchies to networks. So fundamentally, the claim is that data technologies would change intelligence in a dramatic way, and intelligence organization must adapt. The model that this revolutionary intelligence affairs prescribes for adaptation is a model of continuous dynamic innovation that is introducing, integrating state-of-the-art data technologies. In the case of today, we are talking about artificial intelligence, sensors, and autonomy. Turn the intelligence system into flatter, leaner, redundant, integrated organization, and replace synchrony, synchrony in place of sequence, in intelligence operations. So if we take a look at literature on intelligence, the publications from around 2005, professional discussion, documentation in matters of intelligence reform, and here I can think of the Italian intelligence systems reform of 2007, we can really see the influence, though implicit, that this model has played. Whenever if we take a look, for example, at the writings of Sir David Hammond and how he reconceptualized the cycle of intelligence, we can really see the influence of the ICT. I mean, there's a widespread influence, though implicitly, let me say it again, of these ideas on professional discussions and even academic studies. That's why it is important. And this goes well beyond the United States and the Anglo-Saxon world. So let's now turn to the empirical side. Israel's intelligence systems. Three agencies. We have the military intelligence, the Aman, it's the only organization that provides national intelligence and has analytical capabilities. Then there are the well-known Mossad and the Shabak, which are operational entities. By operational entities, I mean that they have mostly capabilities for special operations, covert operations. They have tiny analytical capabilities, and they are mostly in the business of HUMINT rather than SIGINT, at least in the mid-90s. This is the structure of the intelligence system up to the mid-90s. Responsibility for operational activity is assigned by the Varash, the Joint Committee of the Head of the Services, through periodic Magna Carta agreements that define areas of responsibilities. These up to the mid-90s. Around the mid-90s, more or less at the same time as the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, the armed forces were turning into a leaner and smarter IDF, to use the expression employed by then Chief of Staff and later Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Intelligence organizations started procuring and integrating state-of-the-art ICT systems at a sustained pace. Moreover, there was the creation in both the Shabak and the Mossad of technological units. By technological units, which is the term that is generally employed in professional publication, they mostly refer to SIGINT and cyber units. Moreover, and we have to remember that between 2000 and 2005, Israel was involved in a very violent insurgency, the Al-Aqsa Intifada. The intelligence organization started conducting joint operational activities with increasing frequency, no longer, as it was the case before, on ad hoc basis for specific purposes, but it was on a routine basis. Moreover, and I might get into this in the Q&A because there's no time, they started to develop new analytical methodologies to combine the various INTs. So the first phase, there are two phases in this process of transformation. 1997, 2001, Shabak and the Mossad started creating, as I mentioned, SIGINT units, and there is pooling of SIGINT assets between all the organization. All of the three organizations fuse. There is a huge systems in terms of technological assets between the three services. And the Aman engages in broader, more comprehensive innovation attempts that involve also organization, operations, and analytical methodology. Especially, they turned from an, let's say, history-based, we might say, inductive methodology to intelligence analysis to a deduction-based methodology. In the course of these two innovation initiatives between 2003, 2005, and 2006, 2009. Second phase is between 2011 and 2014, where Aman, the National Intelligence Service, engages in a broader innovation attempt that's called Masei Aman, the Aman Endeavor, that include very interesting from our standpoint initiatives. For example, the creation of digital mechanisms for organizational fusion, Tracebook, which is a kind of Facebook for intelligence, a Facebook for intelligence officers that are able to share data, raw data, and analysis the same way as we use Facebook. And iNet, which is a digital platform, for example, for transmitting on a 24-hour basis updates to policymakers and decision makers. Moreover, a new concept of operation is introduced that's called intelligence-based warfare. And there is the creation of an integrated Department of Information System. Similarly, Shabak creates a cyber and SIGINT unit. Empirical analysis of the performance of these systems. So fundamentally, we can argue, I mean, there was really no time to go into the details, but the innovations that the three organizations introduce equate to the model prescribed by the theory of the revolution of intelligence affairs. So what are the observable implications of the RIA concept? We should be able, if we should be able to see in the operation of 8 July, 26 August 2014, an increase in the quantity of the information gathered and speed of processing, improvements in the system's ability to generate all source integrated analytical inputs at a sustained pace, and acceleration in the system's ability to disseminate intelligence outputs to decision makers, commanders, tactical operational commanders, or decision makers, strategic decision makers. So the empirical findings from the operation. There was, in fact, a significant increase in intelligence collection and processing capabilities. This is most evident in the fact that Israel's intelligence system was capable of supplying on a constant basis a huge amount of information on tactical targets to attack during the operation. There was also a moderate increase in intelligence systems' capability of generating all source integrated products. What I mean that from the report of the Israeli state controller, you can see that there were a considerable number of meetings and transmission of all source analysis on the progress in military operations by all the organization in intelligence systems to decision makers, the chief of staff, the minister of defense, the security cabinet, and the prime minister himself. There was also a significant increase in the speed with which this information was disseminated. However, the operation did not go that well. And let me jump in the conclusion. So what we can see by examining the performance of Israel intelligence system in Operation Protective Edge is a decreasing effectiveness from the tactical through the operational to the strategic level. What I mean that tactical, the effectiveness of the system was definitely enhanced. Operationally was so and so, and at the strategic level, it was even lower. So, which allows us to draw a conclusion on the validity of the RIA model, which is that it disregards the time factor. The point is that intelligence organization needs time for integrating explicit and tacit knowledge. And whereas the Israeli intelligence organization were able to actually provide more data, more information at, more speed, the quality of what they provided was adversely impacted by the compressed time cycle in which they provided this information. So in terms of the questions of the conference, was intelligence important for decision-making during the 2014 conflict? Not that much, especially at the strategic level, because it was pushed into the system too fast. Moreover, in terms of changes in how intelligence and military intelligence operate, we can clearly see that the Israeli operation in 2014 reveals a change from linear and sequential to parallel and synchronous patterns of operation. And with that, I thank you very much for the attention.